In the steaming jungles of Panama, a French cemetery holds the graves of 20,000 men who died chasing an impossible dream. Their tombstones bear a simple inscription: "They died to unite the oceans." For 4 centuries, this dream had tantalized empires and explorers alike, to slice through a continent and join the Atlantic and Pacific, a 50-mile cut that could save ships 8,000 miles of treacherous sailing around the bottom of South America. The French tried first. Ferdinand de Lesseps, the celebrated builder of the Suez Canal, arrived in 1880 with supreme confidence and 800,000 eager investors. Within 8 years, his company was bankrupt, his reputation destroyed, and the jungle had claimed 3/4 of his engineers, dead within months of arrival. "The country is literally poisoned," wrote one surviving French engineer, watching trainloads of corpses carted away daily like lumber. What happened next would involve presidential gunboat diplomacy, a medical breakthrough that conquered tropical death, and the largest earth-moving operation in human history, all to fulfill an ancient promise: the land divided, the world united. Ferdinand de Lesseps stood before the cheering crowd in Paris in 1879. Bathed in the glory of his greatest triumph, the Suez Canal had made him a national hero. Now, at 74 years old, he was ready for one final conquest: Panama. The plan seemed simple. Panama was just 50 miles wide, a fraction the Suez's length. De Lesseps envisioned another sea-level canal slicing straight across the isthmus in 12 years for $132 million. When his company launched on the Paris Stock Exchange, French investors went wild. Middle-class families mortgaged their homes just to buy shares. But Panama was not Egypt. When the French engineers arrived, they found a green hell. The rainy season brought torrential downpours that swelled rivers into raging floods. Mudslides buried workers without warning, the heat was searing, and the jungle teemed with invisible killers, mosquitoes carrying malaria and yellow fever. Within months, 3/4 of the French engineers were dead. During the worst season of 1882 and 83, 30 to 40 workers were dying every day. Trainloads of dead men being carted away daily as if they were just so much lumber, one horrified laborer recalled. De Lesseps stubbornly clung to his sea-level vision even as bills mounted and bodies piled up. His massive steam shovels managed to excavate 50 million cubic yards of earth, but this was barely a fraction of what was needed. By 1888, the money was gone. The company collapsed, having spent $287 million for just 11 miles of half-finished canal. The reckoning was devastating. 800,000 investors were financially ruined in the largest monetary corruption scandal of the 19th century. De Lesseps died in disgrace in 1894. His impossible canal had consumed a generation of French capital and claimed 20,000 lives. Yet in the humid jungles, something remained: 75 million cubic yards of excavated earth, and the bitter lesson that some dreams extract a price beyond calculation. Across the Atlantic, Theodore Roosevelt watched the French catastrophe with calculating eyes. The Spanish-American War had shown America that controlling the seas meant controlling the world. During the war, the battleship USS Oregon had taken 68 days to steam from San Francisco to Cuba, racing around Cape Horn while American soldiers died waiting for naval support. Congress initially favored Nicaragua for an American canal, until Montpellier erupted in 1902, killing 30,000 people. Philippe Brunei Varilla, a lobbyist for the bankrupt French company, brilliantly mailed every US senator a postage stamp depicting Nicaragua's smoking volcanoes. The Senate switched to Panama, and the French company slashed their price to $40 million. There was one problem: Panama belonged to Colombia. The United States offered Colombia $10 million plus annual rent for canal rights. When the Colombian Senate rejected the deal, Roosevelt was furious. "You could no more make an agreement with the Colombian rulers than you could nail currant jelly to a wall," he fumed. Roosevelt quietly encouraged Panamanian separatists plotting independence. On November 3, 1903, the conspiracy unfolded with startling precision. As revolutionaries raised their flag in Panama City, the USS Nashville conveniently appeared offshore. Colombian soldiers, offered $50 bribes each, laid down their arms without firing a shot. By evening, the Republic of Panama existed. By morning, the United States had recognized it. Within 2 weeks, America had secured a 10-mile wide canal zone in perpetuity. Years later, Roosevelt would boast openly, "I took the isthmus, started the canal, and then left Congress not to debate the canal, but to debate me." The president had essentially stolen a province and handed it independence in exchange for canal rights. The first American chief engineer arrived with a chilling sense of mortality. John Findlay Wallace ordered a custom-made metal coffin, planning to ship his own body home when the inevitable happened. After a miserable year as workers fled in droves, Wallace himself fled in 1905, leaving with that very coffin occupied by a deceased colleague. Enter John Frank Stevens, who immediately grasped what Wallace had missed. The kind of work that needed to be done could only be done by a well-housed, well-fed, disease-free labor force. Stevens waged war on death itself. His ally was Dr. William Gorgas, fresh from eradicating yellow fever in Cuba. Swamps were drained, puddles doused with oil, and fumigation crews attacked every breeding ground. The results were miraculous. Yellow fever was eradicated from Panama by late 1905. With disease conquered, Stevens made a crucial decision: build a lock canal instead of cutting straight through at sea level. Ships would be lifted 85 feet above sea level in giant water elevators, sail across an artificial lake, and descend back to sea level. It was the same idea a French engineer had proposed in 1879, only to be overruled by de Lesseps. In 1907, Colonel George Washington Goethals took command, establishing military discipline throughout the canal zone. Under his motto, "Make the dirt fly," the construction became a spectacle of industrial might. At peak, over 40,000 workers swarmed the zone. The most Herculean task was cutting through the Continental Divide at Culebra Cut, an 8-mile trench through solid rock. Giant steam shovels worked alongside 200 trains that rumbled out daily. Workers used 60 million pounds of dynamite to blast apart stubborn mountains. Nature fought back relentlessly. Landslides could wipe out months of work in minutes. On one terrible day in December 1908, a premature detonation killed 23 men instantly. Yet progress was undeniable. In May 1913, 2 steam shovels digging from opposite ends met back to back. The Continental Divide was vanquished. In July, the waters of Gatan Lake rose, connecting the Atlantic and Pacific by water for the first time. On August 15, 1914, the cargo ship USS Ancon slipped quietly through the Panama Canal, making history with barely a whisper. After centuries of dreams and over 25,000 deaths, a vessel could finally sail directly between the world's greatest oceans. It should have been a moment of global celebration. Instead, the canal's opening was buried on back pages. World War I had erupted, consuming headlines as armies clashed across Europe. But the canal's impact was immediate. Ships sailing from New York to San Francisco could save 7,800 miles. Trade routes unchanged for centuries were suddenly obsolete. For the United States, the canal was a strategic masterstroke, allowing the Navy to rapidly shift warships between oceans. Yet the canal became a source of growing resentment in Panama. The 1903 treaty had created an American colony in Panama's heart. Panamanians were second-class citizens in their own country, watching foreigners profit from their greatest asset. Tensions exploded in 1964 when flag riots left over 20 people dead, sparking a movement to reclaim the canal. The breakthrough came through an unlikely partnership: Panamanian strongman Tomás Torrijos and US President Jimmy Carter. The Torrijos-Carter Treaties of 1977 set December 31, 1999 as the date of full Panamanian control. On that night, amid celebration in Panama City, the Stars and Stripes were lowered for the first time. The Panamanian flag rose as crowds erupted in joy. Skeptics predicted disaster under Panamanian management, but the Panama Canal Authority proved them wrong. More remarkably, Panama embarked on a $5.25 billion expansion, opening new locks in 2016 that accommodate ships carrying twice as much cargo. Today, as massive container ships glide through Panama's locks, few pause to consider the ghosts beneath the water. Gatun Lake covers entire villages sacrificed when the waters rose in 1913. Over 25,000 people died during 34 years of construction. French laborers who found fever instead of fortune, Caribbean workers who moved mountains with bare hands, American engineers who conquered ancient disease. Their sacrifice made the modern world possible. The canal's meaning evolved with each generation. To the French, it represented industrial hubris. To Roosevelt's America, it symbolized global reach. To Panama, it became first resentment, then pride, and finally economic transformation. Standing in the canal zone today, you can still find rusted French machinery being reclaimed by vines, reminders that even our greatest failures become foundations for someone else's success. The motto carved at the canal's entrance remains true: the land divided, the world united. But Panama's deeper lesson is that uniting the world requires more than cutting through continents. It demands recognizing that the dreams we pursue and the prices we pay echo across generations. The Panama Canal stands as humanity's proof that we can move mountains to bring the world together. The question it leaves us is not whether we can achieve the impossible, but whether we have the wisdom to ensure our grandest ambitions serve not just our dreams, but the dreams of those who come after. By 2024, over 1 million ships have transited the canal. The 50-mile waterway that began as France's greatest failure became America's triumph, and ultimately Panama's pride. A living monument to the truth that sometimes the most impossible dreams are the ones most worth pursuing. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you liked the video and would like to support the channel, please like and subscribe. That stuff really helps the channel out. And if you have a friend that you think would also like this video, please feel free to send it their way. If you have any video topics you'd like us to cover in the future, feel free to drop them in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.